Hello and welcome back to Center Webcast. My name is Gerald Smith. This is the COVID-19 Indiana edition. This is episode 21. Today is Tuesday, May 12th. Today I am really excited about our lineup. We have, as usual, Dr. Sybil Moore as our co-host. Dr. Ralph May, CEO of the Community Guidance Center, is with us today. Dr. Jill Wingerter, owner of Sunflower Yoga Studio. Dr. Joseph Schwartz, president of Beth Israel Synagogue here in Indiana as part of the extension of our interfaith interviews. And Dr. Malaika Turner, vice president of student affairs for IUP. Thank you, as usual, to Brandon Vick, who is on our Zoom and Facebook productions, and Quintina Thomas, who has been just an amazing producer for the program here. The mission for the Center for Community Growth is to lead individuals and organizations in and around Indiana County, advancing social, racial, gender, LGBTQIA, economic, and environmental justice. The COVID-19 Indiana edition is a regular broadcast designed to keep you informed during this COVID-19 pandemic and the recovery. Our guests have included elected and appointed community leaders, folks in nonprofits and the service industry, and local heroes doing incredible work in the community, making sure that no one falls through the cracks here in our community during this really unprecedented time. Don't miss our huge bank of interviews over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I guess 4 or 5 weeks now, from Senator Casey to small business owners to the folks pumping out masks and face shields from here to California. All our interviews are available on YouTube, our YouTube channel, the Center for Community Growth. Please go there and subscribe. Let's get right to it. I am joined first here today by Dr. Malaika Turner, Vice President of Student Affairs at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, IUP here. Welcome, Dr. Turner. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Absolutely. I do want to say I'm the assistant vice president. I don't want my boss to get upset.
I'm so sorry. I made that correction, and then I didn't make the correction. Assistant vice president of student affairs.
That's all right.
Student affairs, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Well, we're all hoping you're for free promotion someday.
Thank you.
We have been tracking a lot of the sort of service agencies, social services for folks who are struggling during this pandemic. I know IUP is doing a lot of work as well with students, despite the fact that classes aren't being held. There's still lots of students who are in town, students who live in town. And so I guess my first question is, what has IUP been doing to assist students during this pandemic?
So, we've been doing there are a lot of different initiatives across the campus, from just one-on-one conversations with students to assisting students with monetary needs. So I've been working with the CARES Act Task Force, which is a group of folks across the university who've come together to really work with financial aid to assist in dispersing the funds that were provided by the federal government. So that's the CARES Act funds for colleges and universities. We've been working in this last week or so to put together a process to ensure that the students who qualify for those funds receive them ASAP. I have also been specifically working with the emergency response funds, and those funds are out of the our university alumni office. If you go to that website, there is an application there where students can apply for funds. And again, if they qualify, I've been approving funds. We've got about 288 or so students who have been awarded funds for a total of approximately $187,000. And there's about $34,000 that's in the process of being approved. So with the new CARES Act funding and that emergency response fund, we are helping students monetarily. I think on the programming end and really connecting with students, we've got a new group that started called the SET group, which is the student support and engagement team that started based on the pandemic. A group of folks in student affairs came together to figure out a way in which we can reach students, program students, engage students during this time. And so we've done, oh my gosh, a ton of programming, 8 virtual programs. I think we've got about 49 posts, and just a number of programs and conversations where we've been able to program and engage students, but also have one-on-one conversations and provide students with the resources that they need through connection.
Well, so I have a bunch of follow-up questions. That's fantastic.
Yes.
One of the things that folks had were thinking about was how do we track students, right? How do you know what students do indeed need help, and how do you maintaining that constant connection with students to make sure that they know that help is available? Like, is that tracking of students happening still?
We have the IUP Hawks email, so students are using that email to ask the questions, make the connections if there are some concerns that they have during this time. They use that IUP Hawks email, and that email address goes straight to our office in Student Affairs, and we have someone who specifically answers questions or connects them with the right department.
Okay, cool. You mentioned the CARES Act funds and emergency response funds going out to students. Are those students they qualify via by financial need?
For the CARES Act fund, there's the criteria that has been set by the Department of Education, and so that's what we have been, that has guided our ability to fund students.
So if a student is, struggling, they're maybe out of work and they're in town, where do they go? What can they do? Like what kind of somebody maybe they work in a restaurant and the restaurant's no longer open.
So and that's that $187,000 of approval we've had so far. So students can go to the IUP alumni page, and they can complete an application. And then that application comes to the Student Affairs office, and then I read through the narrative if one is provided, and then make a decision from there.
And so it can go for things like rent or bills or things that like everyday right now needs. Like you said, the money's going out pretty quickly.
We like to look at specifics. There are some students who, we like to look at rent. We like to look at food. There are students who need food. We're not necessarily paying car payments, but we are taking care of those kinds of needs, storage, technology. Those are the kinds of things that I look at when I'm reading the application and making my decision.
Yeah. It's that's great to hear. I think one of the really positive things about this program that we've been doing is having folks, sort of piece together that network of community support for anybody who was really struggling.
Right.
It's great to hear about the stuff that IUP is doing. It's really important work. So can you tell us about the food pantry at IUP?
Sure. The food pantry started, this is the quick story. The food pantry started in September. We were gracious enough to have a generous donor who was an alum, Terry Serafini, who donated towards the food pantry and making it, taking it from a vision and idea to really bring it to life. And so it is located in Suites on Pratt, in the basement area. And we've had students who worked there during the semester, from the fall to the spring semester until we closed. We had students who actually, worked the program, promising scholars specifically. We had a graduate student who would oversee and manage the program. But it is a wonderful opportunity to serve, right? No one gets, you just want to serve, right? If you're looking for a way to do that, it's been this wonderful opportunity for faculty, staff, students, and the community. We've had a wonderful response from the community who have donated food or who have provided some opportunities for us to go to Aldi's and purchase food for students. And so that has been, and that's one of the things I have to say about the community. The community has been fantastic in their assistance to making this thing happen as far as serving students when it comes to food insecurity.
Yeah. it is really remarkable, and the amount of assistance that is out there. And I hope that folks, despite the challenges, are recognizing. That's what I always say. At no point during this pandemic should you really go in need of food or shelter or safety or health. Like those,
Right.
these things are. There's a network across the community.
Yes.
And it's great. It is great to hear. So folks can go to Pratt. Say that where
Well, folks, when we're in session, students can visit Suites on Pratt, which is across from Folger Hall there. But they can go to Suites on Pratt in the basement area. Those doors are available. They're open until 8 p.m. Students can come in during business hours, and we actually give them a bag, and they can just go through, swipe their iCard, and just go through. And what's happening now because of the pandemic, we know that there are students who are in the community. We know that there are students who are on campus. And so when we get an email from students saying, hey, we could use food, or when we get a referral from faculty and staff, then someone from our office will go down and create bags and leave them at the housing office where students on or off campus can visit and grab a bag of food.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's one of those things, sometimes it may be a student doesn't necessarily feel like they're part of a community, so could go to the community food bank necessarily. So, having all of those opportunities is great. Let me shift a little bit. And ask about the future, if you know, and if you don't know, don't worry. Can you tell what we know? Classes for the semester have ended. Can you tell us what you know, or what the university has been thinking about for classes over the summer and in the fall?
Well, I think I can speak more to fall. I mean, I believe that any class we have in the summer will be online. But, our desire is really to conduct classes and any other activities that we normally have face-to-face, right? We want to do that face-to-face, a face-to-face format in the fall semester. But we are planning for a variety of other scenarios, right? So we have to. It's all about planning, because we want to follow the state and national guidelines so that we can keep everyone safe, the students, our faculty, our staff, and the community. So stay tuned. That's a great, Is that a great thing to say? Stay tuned.
Yeah. Is the university, so I know I'm in the school district, and a lot of the conversation there, the Indiana school district, a lot of conversation there has been similar. We don't know. And because we don't know, we are right now planning for it being very likely for us to have some kind of all online component and shift in. Is that kind of the conversation? I mean, are those the kind of contingencies you guys are planning for?
I think, I'm on multiple committees across the university. And so I think the goal here is to plan an A, B, C, and D, right? So you want to plan for a number of scenarios and then wait to see which one is the actual one we will follow.
Yeah. Well, great. I really appreciate your time coming on. Is there anything that we haven't really covered that you wanted to let our audience know, or let the community know about what's happening in the Student Affairs Office?
Just that the Student Affairs Office is continuing to engage students. That's what we do, right? That's what we do, and we've been innovative, we've been really creative, but I also want to give a shout out to the Indiana community, because there have been some times when we've been able to rely on the community to help us with building this student community. So we are definitely not an island here, and we're grateful.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Will you come back again in a couple of weeks? And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Turner. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.